The Habs continued their road trip with a visit to Buffalo tonight. Alexandre Texier is fresh off of signing his 2-year, $5 million extension. Caden Gooley back into the lineup in place of Jaden Struble, while the Dobson and Texier experiment on the first power play seems to be done, as the normal first unit with Demidov and Hudson were back together in practice today. Puck drop, a little bit delayed for this one because Buffalo was for some reason honoring the 05-06 Buffalo Sabres team. I guess it's an on-brand move for a city like Buffalo, celebrating a 4 seed that made the Eastern Conference Finals and lost, but either way, Buffalo's red hot. They're just winning everything lately. I think they've won something like 13 of their last 15. Buffalo wearing the Rabid Goat jerseys tonight in honor of those infamous 2006 bronze medalists we mentioned. In net for the Montreal Canadiens, it's Jacob Fowler. 4-3-2 with a .246 goals against average and a .908 save percentage. And in net for the Buffalo Sabres, it's Colton Ellis. 5-4-0 with a .311 goals against average and a .900 save percentage. And very early on, Fowler was tested by Tuck. He slipped through the Canadiens' defense, found himself all alone in front of the rookie netminder, but Fowler came up with a big save. Montreal got off to a quick start. Cole Caulfield got sent in with a ton of space. He was able to put not one, but 2 shots towards the net. Ellis made the first save, but couldn't get in front of the second. And Cole Caulfield was able to give the Canadiens an early lead just 3 minutes into this one. And it was a good goal for Caulfield to get, as he's had a bit of a hard time getting in the goal column lately. 30 seconds later, though, Lane Hudson gets called for a high stick. He gets his hands up trying to absorb a hit by Melenstein. Not crazy about the call, but the refs decided it was a penalty. The Habs PK goes to work early. And it doesn't take long for Buffalo to capitalize. Just 20 seconds into the power play, Tage Thompson, get used to hearing that name, uses the body of Alexandre Carrier to obstruct Fowler's view. He rips one by the Habs goaltender to tie the game right back up at 1, just 73 seconds after Caulfield gave the Canadiens the lead. And in the 5 minutes after that equalizer, Buffalo did a really good job of establishing puck control in the Canadian zone. It led to multiple shots on target for the Sabres, who stretched the advantage in shots to 9-3, and it eventually resulted in Caden Gooley taking a penalty, this time for interference. And a minute into this power play, the Sabres make the Canadiens pay again. Josh Doan creeps in close from the corner, lifts the puck over the shoulder of Fowler to give the Sabres a 2-1 lead. It was not a good goal for Fowler to allow, despite coming shorthanded. They kind of sleepwalked their way right to a 2-1 deficit within minutes. Alexandre Texier seemed to reinvigorate the attack. He put a shot off the crossbar that basically everyone and their mother thought was in the net. Somehow it stayed out though. On the replay you see it bounce off of the red line and out after hitting the crossbar. And the Canadiens did finally begin to apply pressure after that. Brendan Gallagher drew a penalty for slashing. The Habs got their first power play. And then on that power play, Byram took another penalty. He gives the Canadiens a 5-on-3. And we all remember how much the failed 5-on-3 opportunity cost the Canadiens against Washington, so how are they going to perform this time? The team cycles the puck very well, and the first good chance goes to Ivan Demidov, who unloads an absolute bomb from the face-off circle, obliterating the puck, burying his 11th goal of the season, and tying this one up at 2. The power play continued for the second unit, but unfortunately they did nothing on the power play. The Sabres came right back at Montreal, who looked very slow and lethargic through much of this period, and I'm not quite sure why. Buffalo had multiple odd man chances that Fowler was able to keep out of the net, but they continued to maintain puck possession in the Canadian zone. The Sabres looked much better throughout the vast majority of the period, and the Habs were very fortunate to make it into the first intermission, tied at 2. After a bit of a shaky start for Fowler in that period, he did seem to sort of stabilize his game, but Montreal really needed to make some adjustments in the intermission, especially after that effort in the first. It was not a good period at all for the Canadiens. They were outshot 12-7, and they were quite grossly outchanced in that period. So they came out for the second period, and Montreal looked much more convincing to start the period. Suzuki had a really nice look on an early one-timer, and the Habs' overall control of the puck led the Sabres to take a holding penalty, which put the Habs on their third power play of the game. And that reunited first unit again rewarded Martin St. Louis. Lane Hudson shows that his shot can be dangerous too. Ellis makes the initial stop, but Suzuki was there to hammer home the rebound. He put the Canadiens back in front of the Sabres, 3-2. The Go Habs Go cheers could be heard clearly in the arena after that go-ahead goal by Suzuki. And I did find it a bit odd that instead of starting to cheer for Buffalo instead, the home fans tried to wash out the Go Habs Go cheers by booing. But Montreal generally looked more in control of their game throughout the first half of the second period, and it was a drastic improvement over the effort they displayed in the first period. Unfortunately for the Canadiens though, that good start was undone in one play, when Tage Thompson backed Alexandre Carrier off from the blue line all the way to the high slot without being challenged at all. As soon as Carrier did finally move to contest Thompson, Thompson just worked the puck over to Alex Tuck, who fired a shot by Fowler, and drew the Sabres back even, tying the game up at 3. And it was a very poor play by Carrier on that goal. I didn't like the coverage by him and Caulfield at all there, and you just had the feeling that this was going to be a game where whoever scores the last goal is going to be the team that wins, as this one was turning into a bit of a track meet. And the game did appear to open up from that point, as each team had some good looks. Byram and Matheson both went off for roughing, so we got 2 minutes of 4-on-4. The 4-on-4 led to even more good looks for both sides, with both goaltenders making nice saves to keep the game tied at 3. And then the rest of the second period was an even battle between two very strong looking teams. Neither side really wanted to give the other an inch, and it was pretty much dead even in all aspects of play in that second period. But I was much happier with the way the Canadiens looked in the second period compared to the first. Now the Canadiens have 20 minutes left of game time to figure out a way to outplay the Buffalo Sabres for one period and take away some critical points. Buffalo should be much more tired than the Canadiens in the last 20 minutes, given that they just played the night before against Philadelphia, and Montreal did have that extra day off. Ideally, Montreal would like to win this one in regulation and widen the gap between the two teams that much more. But we go into the third period, and early on, Danault takes a bad tripping penalty. He puts Buffalo on their third power play of the game, and it's not good news considering the Sabres have scored on both of their previous opportunities on the power play. Fowler makes a few shorthanded saves, and the Canadiens do manage to survive the penalty kill. But that early penalty put the Canadiens in a bit of a hole, and after a turnover at the defensive blue line by Danault and Hudson, it led to a 2-on-1 break-in close for the Sabres inside the Canadian zone. Tage Thompson walks in close again and roofs it over Jacob Fowler. Oh, this was not a good start to the third period by Danault. He took the penalty early, and then he was directly responsible for the turnover in his own zone that led to the Sabres' go-ahead goal. You can see him trying to kick the puck back to Hudson. Bit of an ill-timed play, bad luck for the Canadiens. Kind of bounced off Hudson, went right to the Sabres skaters. Not much the Canadiens could do, bad luck, but now they're down 4-3. Gallagher and Greenway got into a bit of a scrap in front of the Sabres net. That led into another pair of offsetting penalties and 2 more minutes of 4-on-4. And Tage Thompson just continued to give the Canadiens fits. He drew a penalty on Oliver Kapanen on the 4-on-4, and the Sabres go to the power play again. And the Sabres power play is an absolute shooting gallery. Thompson almost shoots a puck through the post, he hits it so hard, and then they send one-timer after one-timer towards the Habs net. Miraculously, Montreal survives the PK, and as if a switch went off, the Habs finally turned the tables on the Sabres and began getting chances. In what could only be described as a complete clusterfuck in the Sabres zone, Ellis mishandled the puck. It led to a string of chances for Kapanen and Hudson, in which the Canadiens just somehow couldn't put the puck into the open net. And in a very out-of-character move, Lane Hudson misplayed the puck just as he was about to shoot it on multiple occasions. Time quickly became the enemy of the Canadiens as it was counting down rapidly, with the Habs still down by a goal, and Montreal just couldn't get that many looks or shots on Ellis, so with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left to go in the game, they're forced to pull the goalie for the extra attacker. Montreal couldn't get it done with the extra man, and it was only fitting that Tage Thompson collected his 5th point of the game as he deposited his hat-trick goal into the empty net. And I know people were hot about Hudson's stick being held on the back check. When you look at the replay, it's really tough to tell. It looks like Hudson's stick is being held down using the stick, not the hands. Maybe the Sabres skater had Hudson's stick in his hand for a moment or two at the very start of the breakout, but it might have been within the scope of the rules, and at the end of the day, the Habs lost 5-3. They didn't lose because of the referees. They lost because they weren't the better team, and they didn't deserve the win. It was a very frustrating loss, and it's increasingly frustrating to hear the schedule being blamed for losses when the tight schedule applies to every team in the league. The standings get even tighter, and the Canadiens look forward to their matchup against the Ottawa Senators on Saturday, and that buffer the Canadiens had previously built is shrinking more and more. So each subsequent game is becoming increasingly important. Anyway, you guys, that's going to be it for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you made it to the end of the video, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And have a great night, guys.